Namaste, beautiful souls, and welcome to this episode of Truth and Tarot Time. This episode is going to be Truth and Tarot and Tapping Time because I have the lovely Alison Morris with me. Welcome, Alison.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for saying yes. Alison and I have known each other since about 2020, and she's over the pond, and we're in a Power of 11 group, which meets every 2 weeks. And so that's every 2 weeks since 2020. So we've got to know each other really quite well. It's a very powerful group. We love it. And most of the people in the group we met through Sarah Landon's masterclass community, which we're not still in, but we do highly recommend it. So there will be links in the description to Sarah Landon's work. But Alison is an EFT tapping practitioner. And so I'm really excited for today because we're going to do a little card reading, see what comes up, and then I'll hand over to Alison to do some tapping with us and on whatever comes up in the cards. Is that all right with you, Alison?
Yeah, that sounds great. Let's see what the cards have to tell us today.
Yeah, let's see what's going on. Thank you. Anything else? What do we need to tap on today? That's a good question. What do we need to tap
Yeah,
on
there we
today?
go.
And anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about when we say EFT tapping, you're soon going to find out. Stay tuned. So, anything else that we need to tap on? Okay, actually, one card has come out. I'm wondering if I need another one. Okay, actually, I am going to take another one. Oh my goodness me. Right.
All right, what happened
Wait,
there?
wait. Well, the one came out, and I was wondering whether to just keep it at one, and then three went, no, no, we want to
Oh,
join. So we've got the King of Swords. Now, swords being air, being mental processes, the king is top of his game. He has mastered his thinking. So this is basically about mastering our thoughts. Being a little bit logical, obviously he is quite left brain. I would normally say with this card is he needs to work in in line with his heart. We need to go from the heart first and then activate the mind rather than the other way around. Because the butterfly here shows the transformation that can occur when we master our thoughts. So this is a little bit like installing positive beliefs where we have negative ones maybe, or just about freeing ourselves from overthinking. So there's definitely something here about thoughts.
and
Uh,
tapping is perfect for that. So
yes,
that's highly
brilliant.
relevant card.
Because freedom, I was thinking freedom, and then the world came up, which for me is a sign of freedom. The world is the last of the major arcana, so it's a powerful spiritual lesson in life, but it shows a completion of that spiritual lesson. The world is our oyster, the universe is our playground. We came here to play like children. She's got these two wands, which we see in the magician card. He has one. So she's actually got two because she knows that she's creating her own reality and she is having so much fun doing it. So this is a real completion, end of a learning phase and freedom. And because it's come on the heels of this, it's telling us that mastering our thoughts is actually our path to freedom. The next card, even more freedom. There's so much freedom here because we've got the Fool. And what I love about this is the order that they've come up in, really, because this, of course, is the end of a spiritual lesson. But of course, the Fool, represents the beginning of a new adventure. So it is like something is completing, something big is completing, and it's giving us the freedom to live our life in joy. I want to say our suffering, because our suffering is caused by our thinking, right? Our suffering
Absolutely.
is caused by our thinking. So once we realize that and overcome it, that's the completion. We're free. We're free. I mean, he's very childlike. I mean, he's not a fool, but he is naive because he's like childlike and he's just heading off into the sunset or what have you, taking leaps of faith. He knows that he's spiritually guided. He's taking very little forward with him. And this rose here in his hand shows that he knows that everywhere he goes, his frequency goes with him. So he's manifesting and creating his reality from his own energy. So that's the fruition. He's creating the fruition from his energy, not from his bank account or anything like that. He's got his loyal friend there, but he's got a song in his heart and a spring in his step. And he's quite childlike, but he's living his life through joy now.
Mm.
And
Love it.
the last one is the Knight of Cups. Horses are positive movement forward. Cups, of course, is the emotions. It's the love. It's the spirituality, intuition, creativity. And so, what do they say here? That, we've got to activate the heart because the cups would represent following your heart. The Knight of Cups is following his heart. So I think what's happening here is we've been very restricted in most of our upbringing and looking at the collective as well. We've been very restricted through beliefs that are not ours and that are not serving us. And we've got to release all of that. We've got to do the Byron Katie, that every thought that we have to ask, is it true? Does it have to be true? Understanding that we are the creators of our reality and we create our reality through the frequency of our thoughts. So it is about choosing a better thought in order to embody the freedom that is available to us and the freedom to follow our hearts and to
Mm.
follow our feeling. And this would be dreamy. The Knight of Cups would be dreamy, and it's to follow our dreams. I mean, these two are definitely, they're just following their heart, following their dreams. They're just doing what they love with who they love, creating what they want. There's a real sense of freedom here because of the learning to master the thoughts.
Oh yeah, that's so perfect, really. It's a great setup for tapping, right? And which is, of course, emotional freedom, right? That's the name of it.
Oh, of course. I always say
Process.
EFT, emotional freedom technique.
Yeah,
Tell us more,
exactly.
Alison. Tell us more.
Yeah. So, it's been around now for decades. And um, initially, nobody really had any idea how it worked. There was a thought that we had energy sort of stuck in our meridians, right? Meridians being lines of energy that the Chinese identified and have used for thousands of years. And that I believe actually in the last decade have been identified, uh, in science as being real.
As
But
existing, yeah.
right, but of course, for years, people just knew that tapping worked, and it's called tapping because you use your fingers to tap on acupressure points on your face and your head, your face, and your upper body,
We don't
which looks
always need to know how it works in order just to enjoy doing it.
right,
I think it's the
exactly.
same with a lot of things. Just do it and then feel the outcome. And if you like it, keep
And
doing
then, right. And so people just sort of knew that it worked. And so, it does look a little odd though, right? So people are, I think understandably somewhat reluctant to sort of do it in public or be seen doing it or whatever. But as
it.
more and more and more people learn about it, and it's increasingly in movies and you see athletes doing it. The wonderful thing about EFT is it is infinitely adaptable. The little catchphrase around it was try it on either it was try it on anything or try it on everything. Either way it works because you can adapt what you are tapping on for absolutely anything you can come up with, any situation. Now, some people find that overwhelming and they say, I don't know where to start, I don't know what to tap on, I don't know what to say. I've always found that to be this wonderful aspect of it. I never have any trouble coming up with things to tap on or how to tap. So I can just very briefly go over the sort of the how to tap. And you're familiar with tapping,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. Yeah, I actually
Yeah, yeah,
write
yeah.
about it in my first book. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I like to think about it in terms of three A's. The first bit is acknowledging either what you're thinking or how you're feeling. Now, EFT is a combination, sort of emotional somatic approach to healing, to releasing um, thoughts, worries, fears, beliefs, physical symptoms, really anything you can think of. Um, and often, though, we like to push those things down. We like to avoid the difficult, the uncomfortable things we might be ashamed of or embarrassed about, or things that are just painful and traumatic, right? I mean, it's understandable why it happens. And, there's that famous phrase, what you resist persists, when we're not allowing ourselves to feel what we're feeling or to acknowledge that we're thinking, that we have a belief underlying something, it tends to stay around. Um, and then we can't move through it. Whereas, the word emotion in Latin is e movere, which means to move, right? To move. So emotions are supposed to be moving through us and not get stuck inside ourselves. And, there's now a fair bit of research that shows, for instance, how our brains hold on to memories in short and long-term memory, and how the tissues in our bodies literally retain like memories, right? When we feel stress in our bodies, there's a physiological process for how that happens. And EFT is really fabulous at allowing us to let go of a lot of stuff. Um, so the first A of EFT is to acknowledge what it is, we're feeling, what it is we might want to change about ourselves or in our life circumstances. But the key is it does have to be about us. Right? So we might tap on how annoyed we are at somebody else's habit, but we're not tapping to change them. We're
Yeah.
tapping to change ourselves. I just want to
Yeah.
put that caveat out there because the reason I got into tapping was through other parents in an online group who had children adopted, either domestically or internationally, with a number of challenging issues that we were all trying to understand better: adoption trauma, developmental trauma, all these different things. And it was manifesting in some very challenging behaviors and emotional outbursts and trouble at school, all these different things. So one woman posted about tapping on her son who is raging in another room. I had no idea what she was talking about. And after a few minutes, he calmed down. Now, thought, okay, that's interesting. I don't know what she's talking about. And then it might even have been a year later, several months later, she posted again about tapping on herself to help her deal with something. And I think I asked her about it, and then I went and looked it up, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at this amazing thing. I was never really skeptical about it at all. It's interesting. I downloaded, there was a free manual. At the time, you could send off for these CDs. You would rent a bunch of CDs of conferences and tapping training. I went through the whole weekend and I tapped and tapped and tapped and tapped and tapped. And I was yawning and yawning and
Yeah.
yawning. I felt so much better. I mean, I just knew it was working. And I almost instantaneously made the decision to become certified, which, as a analytical, logical, lawyer trained person whose family emphasized intellectual pursuits, it was very unlike me to just spontaneously decide that something like this, right? Because it's known as an energy healing modality.
Yeah.
So anyway, I launched into it, and I initially I worked with a lot of my focus was working on other parents of children with had all these different struggles and all the pain and the worries and the fear and all the things that went along that. So that's what I focused on for years. So anyway, so back to the acknowledgement. You might think of about it as admitting, but that has a sort of a tinge to
Yeah.
it as a word. So I like the word
Yeah.
acknowledge better.
Yeah.
So first, you're acknowledging what you want to work on. Generally, the more specific, the better, but that's not always the case. So instead of just, I'm so angry, you might instead want to think specifically about the thing that has caused you to feel this anger. Um, the next thing that you're going to do, hang on, now I've lost track of my A's.
Three
Push it
A's, yeah.
down. You're going to allow it. Um, and then you are going to allow yourself to feel what you're feeling. So that means feeling the emotion that goes along with what it is, but it also means tuning into your body and noticing what physical sensations, symptoms, feelings that you have physically. Now, can be really hard for some people because most of us were taught from a very early age to not pay attention to what our bodies were telling
Yeah.
us,
And not to
right?
feel it. That's why we
Yeah.
pushed it down, right?
Right? We don't like feeling it. Our parents might have told us, to shape up, to stop crying, um, go away until you're in control of yourself, whatever, right? Because our
Mhm.
feelings are messy and often inconvenient.
And
And
sometimes we're punished for anger.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And
I
we could
remember being punished for being
get
angry.
punished, shamed, right? Especially men having feelings. Oh my gosh, right? But women or girls too are often, we're crybabies, we're too soft, we're too sensitive, all those things, right? So we get all this baggage about not allowing ourselves to express what we're feeling, um, not only verbally, but just physically to notice it. Say, wow, I've got a real tightness in my chest, feel this heaviness in my shoulders. I've got, we might, butterflies in our stomach is one thing probably everybody's felt, right? When we're nervous about something. So that one is but what else is going on? Maybe you realize you're tapping your foot nervously, like that's a thing now. Um,
Yeah,
or in some cases, a physical symptom might be directly related to an emotional occurrence. Like I've known people who stopped hearing in one ear because they got a bad phone call.
yeah,
Like literally did not want to hear that news. And
yeah.
so their body was like, okay, we'll
Yeah.
just shut that
Shut that down.
off,
I've heard
right?
cases like that. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And it can be so our bodies are amazing. They can be extraordinarily literal
Yes.
or highly metaphorical.
Yes.
And it can be a real interesting dance to figure out like which one might be in play. But I think that's kind of the fun part of EFT is figuring out
Well, it
where.
works on all levels, doesn't it?
Yeah, oh, totally. It's so great. I mean, really, it can go so far, so many ways. Then the next part of it, the next A is acceptance.
Yeah.
We are saying, I accept myself, even I love myself, even though
Yeah.
I'm feeling this way, I have this problem, I behaved in a way that I'm ashamed of, right? It's a sort of an aspect of forgiveness. You might say that you forgive yourself. So we start with a setup phrase that kind of outlines the issue that we're going to be addressing through the tapping. And we tune into our bodies. Usually, it's helpful to give yourself a rating when you start on a scale of 0 to 10. How intense is this thing? Now, you might think about those a little bit differently if it's a memory or a belief versus a worry or a fear versus, so it works pretty well and it doesn't have to be precise. It's just a guess, right? Just a guideline because you want to be able to test it
Yeah.
and see where you are after you've done a little bit of
Yeah.
tapping. Did it get better? Sometimes it gets worse before it gets better, but it almost always gets at least a bit better, and often it gets completely better,
Yeah.
which is amazing. And very often it happens quite quickly.
Yeah.
So now there have been all these studies showing that EFT gets at least the same results as sort of gold standard kinds of therapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy
Yeah.
or EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And I can't remember what else it's kind of been tested against. And it does equally as well or better, but the results occur more quickly.
Yeah.
And they tend to have more staying power, at least when compared to cognitive behavioral therapy. I can't remember specifics on EMDR, so I don't want to go there. Um, and both can be really great, right? talking can be
Yeah, yeah,
super
yeah.
helpful, but often we need the body, the somatic component added in for really lasting change, for really, because
Yeah,
our
and
bodies
and I
store a lot of
found when
stuff.
I did it, I remember the most powerful time I did it, and I started on one subject. Like you said, I'll pick an issue. I started on one issue, and as I went on, another issue came up that I
Yeah,
didn't even know that I had.
yeah,
Because it
yeah,
works on a subconscious level, doesn't it? And so I thought, oh, this is going to be quite easy and straightforward and what have you. But obviously, the underlying cause of my initial issue that I was talking about was deep-rooted stuff that the subconscious, threw
yes.
up at me.
Well, and so often, so many of the things that we struggle with um, as adults or even in teenagers um, have their roots when we're very young.
Yeah, in this, and we're not
Things that
aware
we
of it. So
overheard, a sharp word, an embarrassing moment in a classroom,
exactly.
a
I think
snide
it's really,
remark
yeah,
from
it's
a
important to
friend.
still go with it, even when so it can get quite emotional.
It can get emotional. And I will say this, right? It was designed to be a self-help technique,
Yeah,
and it is now used and trained all over the world, especially in cultures that have no um, they have no cultural reference for therapy,
yeah,
right? Or that's viewed as highly suspect, or it is stigmatized, highly stigmatized.
yeah,
But also in places where you need to reach a large group of people, like a natural disaster. So it's been used for in like Civil War areas, like with child soldiers in Liberia, with all the immigrants in from Syria and other places in different in immigration camps, detention or whatever. After school shootings in the U.S., unfortunately, so many of those. It gets used a lot in those. It was used after 9/11. So, um, and it can also be really helpful to work with somebody who's a practitioner because a lot of people do struggle with kind of keeping track of where they're headed. And,
when it
it's
gets
easy to get
emotional,
off
it's
on
easy to stop, isn't it?
yeah, and sometimes people go try to do too much on their own, or they don't go far enough. They're not maybe pushing themselves quite enough. Um, or, you just don't have perspective on your own stuff.
Yeah.
So you can do a lot on your own, and it sometimes can be helpful to work with a practitioner. I will say though that EFT is one of these, it's a technique that was developed by a man named Gary Craig
Yeah,
years and years ago, and then he gave it to the world, which
yeah,
was an extraordinarily generous thing to do. And it then created, as sort of an unintended consequence, perhaps, lots of variations on EFT that everybody calls EFT because there wasn't like a copyright or trademark on the concept or the name. Since he's sort of gone back, well, and Gary Craig has just recently passed away, but he went back and he re he came up with what he called a gold standard EFT, and then there's another version that's called clinical EFT, which is the version that's been the most scientifically rigorously tested. But just if you're out there looking, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube for EFT,
yeah,
and many of those videos are great, but use your discernment. If something feels doesn't resonate, doesn't feel right, move on.
yeah.
There's a lot of people out there who can call themselves EFT practitioners that haven't had any training. And I don't mean to scare people, but just, yeah, just
What
feel into it a little bit.
I would suggest to anyone wanting to do it. I mean, I'm going to put your contact details in the
Yeah.
description and everything. Um, but with anything like this, I would recommend having a coaching session first with someone to have a professional session first. I mean, that's what
And
I
then
did. And then
yeah,
then you
yeah,
then you've got it and you know you've got it right, and then you can carry on using it yourself.
yeah. Then you can carry on using it. So, but we're living in extraordinary times, and maybe everybody feels that way, but we know that there's big stuff happening. Oh, I saw a lovely, so I sometimes tell you about Shelley Young's channeling of Archangel Gabriel. And there was a lovely message the other day about how we're in the agitation cycle in the washing machine. And all
Yeah.
the dirt's coming up, but we haven't gotten to the rinse cycle yet. But it's coming. And I thought that's really helpful.
But that's
Right?
what tapping does. Tapping is like rinsing us of our emotions that
Yeah, yeah.
are not
So,
serving us.
so the EFT can help start the rinse cycle. Maybe we think about it that
Exactly.
way, right? To like just sort of shed things, let things go. We're all carrying on a lot of stuff. You may, you know, if you believe this, we're carrying a lot of stuff from either from previous lives or all the lives we're living at the same time. But right, it's all within
And
us.
ancestral. There's a
And
lot of
ancestral
ancestral
things.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that we have. Let's just put it this way. There is never a shortage of things we can tap on
Yeah, because also if we think back to Rumi, you are the whole ocean in
in
one
the
drop
drop.
with a
Yes.
whole universe in one human being. So whatever
Yes.
you tap on, you're helping the collective.
Yes, absolutely. Because it's one less worry that we're contributing to the collective consciousness, right? We're brightening our light. I think we are raising our vibration every time that we tap. We're
Yeah,
lightening our load, and we're just, yeah, making and our vibrations are contagious. And I do think the higher ones have more power than the lower
of
ones.
course. Yeah. That's
And
power versus
especially
force.
at a
Yeah.
time when there's a lot of lower vibrational energy going around in a more overt way than there has been in some time. Um,
I think it's because we have to see it, don't we? It's something to do with the fact that we have to see it
yeah.
in
So there's
order, yeah,
yeah, a lot is in our faces right now, in our awareness,
because it's
and it,
actually
it can
our
be a lot.
reaction to what we perceive that actually gives us creative powers. So
Yeah,
I think that's why
yeah.
we're seeing so much at the moment.
And so you don't need to believe in EFT for it to work,
No.
because on one level, it really is a physiological process. And let me just tell you briefly, there's now quite a bit of research um, that helps us understand the benefits of it, uh,
Hmm.
aside from say, the release of the stress and the letting go of say, a bad memory. I like to think of it as sort of like if a memory was in Lucas sound, right, that like you were in what are those huge surround sound kind of movie theaters, right? Where it's just overwhelming visual and oral kind of stimulation. It's just sort of turning things down. The memory doesn't go away.
No, but
You're not going to become
the emotional trigger of
yeah,
what
but
you're doing. Yeah,
it's dulled down, it's
yeah.
dimmed down, it's turned down. And it's not going to make you a daredevil. If you're scared of heights, you're not going to go skipping from, you know, across a crevasse, and take your life in your hands. But you won't be clinging to the canyon wall in tears either, right? Which I've done before in a
Me
newly
too,
found
actually.
fear of heights. Oh yeah, right. And so it doesn't do away with the memory. But for instance, with food cravings, a
So what do
year
you want? What do you
later,
think we should tap on then?
yeah, a year later, people often have even forgotten what it was they used to, the candy bar they used to eat every day. Oh, but before we tap on, I just want to say, so it does lower your cortisol levels within
Mhm.
minutes and significantly. It can change your brainwave state. So most of us run around in like high beta, right? Blah, blah, blah. We're buzzing, we're multitasking, we're overstimulated, we're on our phones, blah, to take us down to almost like a light meditative state. And you can see the changes in people's faces. You can see the changes in their posture. You can see the changes in their breathing. It turns on positive epigenetic expression, right? So genes that are associated with regeneration and healing and high immune function and all the good things get expressed, and ones that are associated with inflammation and poor immune response and stress signals and things get downregulated. Um, and there are other things. It disrupts signals to our amygdala, which is the fear center of our brain. Anyway, so you don't need to believe that it works, but
No, you experience it and then you know that it works. That's my kind of
right,
science. I
once
know
you
you've got quite a
experience it, yeah,
scientific background by the way you're prepping this. Me, I don't care about science, although I have to say that I
yeah,
do talk about the quantum science in this book. But basically, if you try something and it works, just keep doing it. That's what I say.
yeah. And and to be honest, the only potential downside of tapping is if you really took on a serious trauma on your own, got in too far and had a really, you know, got yourself into a panic attack or something. Um, I've never seen that happen with anyone I've ever worked with. Um, and I almost never hear about it, to be honest. I mean, could it happen? Yes. So you just be careful around that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the worst that can happen is you spent 10 minutes and you don't feel much better. But that also almost never happens.
Well, if you believe that the right thing happens at the right time for the right reasons, it might be quite an emotional experience, but maybe it is one that you needed to have. I don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah. But so
So
warning out there, everyone, just if you're going to follow this, then just chill, be in a nice quiet place and follow along.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so what? So that the cards, of course, were a really great lead-in, but also quite broad.
Mm. Yes, but it
And
is to do with thoughts and freedom
yeah, so I'm
and
wondering
following your
if
heart.
there's a particular thought or belief that we might address that is quite prevalent right now in the world that has people, really worried about things. Um, uh, I mean, it's a pretty broad one, but one thing that comes to mind is just the general sense that, right, everything's going to hell, right? The world's falling apart, everything's getting worse. There's no end in sight, this kind of doomsday scenario about where we're headed. Which, if you looked around based on the evidence, you might say, well, that's a realistic point of view,
That's why we're doing it, to raise
right?
the frequency, to change the reality. Yeah.
And right. And if you believe that you have the ability to create your own reality, and that your thoughts create your emotions, which create your vibration, which create,
Your reality.
right? So
The
the
whole
universe
thing.
is going to mirror back to you, um, then you do want to be thinking the good thoughts and feeling the good
Oh.
feelings while not freaking out if you have a bad one. Right? I mean, because what happens then is people tend to get really worried that, oh my God, I just had a really depressing thought. I just spent the last hour fretting about something. What have I done to the world? I I I don't think we could. I mean, we could
So
tap on that
cancel,
too.
delete.
Yeah, I mean, we could tap on that too, because I think that's actually another worry out there. So, I don't know. What do you prefer? What do you think would be the most
One of
useful
the
here?
things, talking about what you're talking about, one of the things that I worked with recently with people was they tested negative to the world is a safe place.
Oh,
Just the
interesting.
belief the world is a safe place. I see.
Yes.
I test positive for that, but I've met people that test negative for that because they're like,
That's
"Look,
very
the world is
interesting.
not a safe place." But if we believe that the world is a safe place, then our world will be a
Is
safe
is a
place.
safe place. Yeah. Okay, that's an interesting one. Okay, so this is a bit more maybe esoteric than what a lot of people tap on, but this is what we're up about here, right? So,
A little bit
um,
esoteric.
what we would
This is
do
truth and
is
tarot time.
absolutely. So let's go for it. So you start by using one hand. You can use either hand, and you tap on the side, of your other hand. Either way is fine. And you say a setup phrase 3 times. And it always starts with even though.
Even though.
And if you just follow along and repeat after
I'm
me,
going
even
to mute
though,
myself so that I can speak it out loud and without disturbing you. Yeah?
oh no, no, that's fine. Actually, I prefer it if you said
You
it
want me
out
to
loud.
say, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
that's helpful
better to
because
say it
everybody
out
else,
loud.
if they watch it, then they can repeat with you. That works later.
Okay.
So even though I don't believe that the world is a safe place.
Or even though the what's happening in the news.
Well, yeah, yeah, I'll get there too. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm, how do I want to say? I'm going to say right here, right now, I am safe.
right here, right now, I'm saying.
All right. Um, Even though everything I see in the news has convinced me that the world is a dangerous place right now. Just repeat after me. Just say
Yeah.
those same words out loud.
Even though everything I
Yeah.
see in the news convinces me that the world is a dangerous place.
Yeah. Right here and right now,
Right
I'm
here,
safe.
right now, I'm safe.
Even though the world does not feel like a safe place to me, based on evidence all around me.
Even though sometimes the world doesn't feel like a safe place because of the evidence around me.
I deeply and completely accept myself and the way I feel.
I deeply and completely accept myself and the way I feel.
Okay, so then we use a couple fingers and I start on the top of our head. Different people do different things. And we say a little, what's called a reminder phrase. Can be the same thing over and over again. I find that gets a little boring. So I'm going to probably switch it up a little bit. And what we're going to focus on, sorry, I should have said this earlier, is the negative, what you might think of as the negative belief, the fear, the worry. So the world is not safe.
The world is not safe.
And then we go to this eyebrow point, which is the inside of your eyebrow closest to your nose. I see lots of evidence the world is dangerous.
I see lots of evidence the world is dangerous.
We go to the outside of the eye, just gently along that side of the bone there. Um, the world is a dangerous place.
The world is a dangerous place.
So under the eye, just on that little bone there, um, everything in the news is bad.
Everything in the news is bad.
Yeah. And we go under the nose, that little indentation above your upper lip. So much that I see going on right now is scary.
So much that I see going on right now is scary.
Um, this is called the chin point. It's really between your chin and your lower lip, that little notch there. Uh, I feel like I'm stressed out all the time.
I feel like I'm stressed out all the time.
No, I didn't ask you how to rate that for yourself
Okay.
before we started, but
Well, to be totally honest with you,
yeah,
I
I
think
was
the
gonna say,
world
I'm
is
not
a
sure
safe
that would work
place.
for you. But just know that I should have done that. So sorry about that. You can give yourself your own rating of how true you think that is,
Yeah,
0 to
yeah.
10. Um, I I can feel the fear in my shortness of breath. Oh, I'm sorry. So this point is called the collarbone point. I actually like to take all 5 fingers. If you find your collarbone and drop down below it, there's kind of that notch. And I just kind of like to tap all around here. That way you make sure you don't miss it. And you can use both hands if you want. You can even do this if you want to do the sort of bilateral stimulation of 2 points. Um, and then the last point is the one that looks the funniest. It's an underarm point. It's about 3 inches below your armpit, about where your bra is if you're a woman. Or you can cross under your arm too. Either way you like to do it, whatever's easiest for you. The world is not safe.
The world is not safe.
Now, I'm just going to stop here. That's called one round of tapping. Um, some people start on the eyebrow and end at the top of the head. I learned it the other way, and I kind of liked the top-down approach, but either way is fine. Um, you only need to tap 2 to 5 times on every point. You don't need to say a lot on every point as you're tapping. And in fact, you don't always need to say anything at all. If you're really charged up about something, or you have something that's really bothering you, you're tuned into it. I like saying the things out loud because it helps keep me focused, helps keep me on topic. Um, but sometimes people are crying and they can't speak, and that's
Mm.
okay. Sometimes you don't speak the same language as somebody that you're tapping with, and you don't need words. You just need the tapping because the tapping itself is one of the key pieces of the of successful tapping. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the mechanisms of its success.
And if something comes up while you're doing it, that
Yeah.
it's important to go with that, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so number of things can happen. So a lot of people have physiological reactions to tapping. They sigh, they yawn.
Yeah.
I've known people to hiccup. I've
Yeah.
known people to burp. Glad
Yeah.
I don't do that one. But right, that's all your body releasing energy. Um, some people start to cry, which is okay, right? That's another form of release. And you just kind of let that happen. Obviously, if people start sobbing, you stop, wait. But um, you can also keep tapping, just keep tapping through the crying and
Yeah.
help yourself kind of
Yeah.
keep moving through that.
Just keep tapping even if you're not actually saying anything.
Yeah, absolutely. You can tap while you're telling a story to somebody that's upsetting to you. You're just narrating
Okay.
what happened, and you can be really upset. You can swear while you tap.
Yeah.
And right, whatever feels true. You might want to do that maybe in privacy, right? Especially if you're expressing a lot of anger towards somebody, maybe that's in the same home with you. The point is to be honest, really be honest about what you're feeling. You're not trying to cover things up or pretty it up for public consumption. You're being really as raw, as honest, as authentic as you can be. That should be maybe another A is the authenticity.
Yeah.
We're really trying to talk about truth in the tarot. We're really trying to get to the truth of what you're feeling and
Yeah.
what you believe.
And to feel in your body where it is.
Yeah. So the more when you're I'm talking a lot, not tapping so much. We'll get back to tapping. The more you can really describe your physical sensations in great detail tends to be more beneficial.
Mm.
So you might say, I I have this roiling ball of churning grayish green mud in my stomach, right? Or I have like these claws in the back of my neck, like pinch whatever, right? Just the more descriptive and expressive you can be about your symptoms, it tends to be a better thing.
Yeah.
So, just a little bit more about sort of tapping and oh, you said you might realize things. So, one of the things that can happen and often happens is you get a realization about something.
Mm.
A new perspective drops in, something that you had not previously considered or maybe had dismissed, and now you realize, oh my God, I think that really is the case. Um, but you might have a memory pop up that seems completely unrelated, apropos of nothing, just it's there. Those tend to be really useful because your subconscious has sort of dislodged it for a purpose.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes when you're tapping, you need to give yourself permission to let things go.
Yeah.
So I deeply and completely accept myself is the standard affirmation for tapping. But sometimes you might want to say, it's safe for me to let that go, right? Or I give my body permission to relax. Or it's safe for me to become someone new,
Yeah.
right? And Or I like this one. I give this one credit to Matt Kahn for this one. I send love to the part of me that has believed that for so long, right?
Powerful. Like it.
Or I forgive anyone who taught me to believe that that was true, right? There's all these different affirmations that you can use. And I think sometimes the way you phrase those is almost more powerful than the tapping itself because,
Yeah. But also, if a thought comes to you, I think it's really important to understand the thought has come to you for a reason while you're
yeah,
tapping.
yeah,
And so don't dismiss it.
yeah.
Mm.
And, our brains are fascinating, right? Most of what we think and do is subconscious, right? I mean, they call it the autonomic nervous system for a reason. It just runs on autopilot. Our subconscious's number one job is to keep us safe. And to our subconscious, safe means known. It means what has been or is. The unknown, even if it's something you desperately want, is frightening
Yeah.
to our subconscious minds,
But he's
right?
leaping off a cliff. So
Yeah, right. And there's no net, right? And the so understanding that can also be really, really helpful because a great part of tapping is reassuring your subconscious that it's okay, that
yeah,
you're safe, and that change is going to be a beneficial thing
yeah.
and not a dangerous, scary thing. One,
Mhm.
I can't remember, it might have been the council, I think. It was just the non-physical entity that Sarah Landon channels, who talked about using the word creation instead of change. And I remember really keying in on that because I thought that was fabulous. Creation sounds fun and exciting, right? We
Yeah.
create, we're creating, we're creational. That is empowering and sounds,
Well, it's a
to me
reminder
anyway,
that we are literally creating our
yeah.
reality.
Whereas change feels like something that happens to us from
Mhm.
outside of us that we're having to adjust to and react to and deal with, and all these really heavy, burdensome words, right? But change feels fresh and
Or
new and
creation. Yeah. Creation.
right. And
Yeah.
so that can also be kind of a really important reframe when you're thinking about using tapping to let things go.
Yeah.
Um, but you can also tap. In fact, maybe we should do this next, right?
Mhm.
Even though
Mhm.
change, yeah, I want so many things to change, but change feels scary.
Even though, yeah, let's do that one because I think that's
Yeah,
really relevant because the world is changing.
yeah. I I
I am
deeply,
adapting. I am
yeah,
responding.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Yeah.
Now, here's another thing you can do with tapping, and I choose to know that change is exciting
Yeah.
and beneficial,
Yeah.
something like that, right? Uh, Even though change,
The
so
world is
many changes
changing.
in my
Yeah.
life have been scary,
Yeah.
and I'm worried that future changes will also be frightening.
Okay.
I deeply and completely accept myself and my fears, and I send love to the part of me that is so scared.
Yeah.
You know? Um, Even though uh, I don't know what's happening next,
Even
and
though
the
it
un and not knowing has me stressed and scared. I deeply and completely accept myself, and I choose to know that everything is always happening
yeah.
for me, right?
Yeah.
Now, you don't need to change up your words every single time, but I'm just trying to give examples of kind of
Yeah.
how you do this. All right. So we could say change has always been scary, or it's often scary for me, right? We go to the top of the head.
Change
Um,
can be scary. Mm.
yeah. Um, the unknown is unknown.
The unknown is unknown. This is very
Yeah.
this card, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Um,
Jumping off a cliff is scary.
yeah. Right. I'm worried about what might be happening next.
Okay, I could worry
Yeah.
about what might be happening next.
What I see happening now, yeah, much of what I see happening now, I don't like.
Okay,
Um, I'm worried that what might be next might be worse.
okay.
Yeah, I can feel the stress of not knowing in my what, my chest and my shoulders. That's where I tend to carry all that stuff. This fear of the unknown. Then we go to this worry about what might be
Mhm.
next.
Yeah.
Right? Now, you don't need to tap and tap and tap and tap and tap and tap, right? You don't need to do 8 rounds of tapping on something. And frankly, you can tap really quickly. Gary Craig was like a speed tapper. Like he would go on stage and he'd be like this frozen shoulder, frozen shoulder, frozen shoulder, frozen shoulder, frozen shoulder, just, and then they'd lift their shoulder up and walk off stage. And it would be like, okay, it was so
Wow.
fun, right? You can find your own pace. You can almost not do tapping wrong. Some people are like, oh, but I forgot and I tapped on this the whole time.
Yeah.
That's okay. I tapped for, 10 instead of 6. That's okay. Uh, right? It's very forgiving process.
Can we use positive affirmations?
Well,
Because
yes.
I'm
So
tempted to say with him, um, even though the world looks scary, I trust the process of life because that's what he's
yes.
doing.
Okay. So here's the thing with positive tapping. Generally speaking, it's useful to address the underlying fear first. And once you've done a pretty good job of neutralizing that, calming it down, reducing the number on that scale,
Mhm.
then to turn to kind of more installing more reassuring, comforting, inspiring sorts of things. Um, because you don't want to put the furniture polish on or you want to dust before you polish. Let me put it that way. Uh, and so you want to clean out sort of the junk before
Yeah,
you try to, do the new
yeah.
paint, whatever that might be. Gary Craig used to talk about EFT as erasing the writings on the wall. And I
Okay.
have always kind of liked that, actually, just that visual, right? If you think about having like a belief, right? I am not enough, right? As a big graffiti on your wall, and you're taking your whiteboard eraser and you're just scrubbing it away, and then it's gone. Um, uh, I don't know. I think it's just a super helpful sort of visualization. And you can use visualizations too when you tap easily.
Mm.
But what I was going to say is, you don't always need to tap 10, 15 rounds on the same thing, Tap 1 or 2 rounds, stop, take a nice deep breath,
Yeah.
have a drink of, this is tea, but have a drink of water, something liquid, right? Stay hydrated. Sometimes things take a little longer to kind of process and clear, and you're not going to receive all the benefits of the tapping immediately.
Mm.
Usually, people find that even if the thing that they're wanting to address isn't completely gone, they feel better. They feel calmer, the breathing is deeper, they feel more able to handle what's before them. They're just generally more content and
Mm.
in a better frame of mind to go about their day. So while there are certainly what they call 1 minute miracles where people resolve like an entire whatever, that doesn't always happen. And you want to give the process a little bit of a chance. I will say though, in the end, right, most of our problems come down to a few core fundamental issues, right? I'm not loved. I'm not lovable. I don't belong. I'm not enough. I don't
I'm not
deserve.
safe. Yeah.
And I'm not safe. Um, and, depending on your beliefs, right? People have, uh, God is angry with me. Uh, you
Mm.
know, uh, I, there's just, right. It's sort of heartbreaking actually that because so many of us have those same beliefs or
But
used to.
we can use it on anything that we're feeling. If we're feeling anything out of alignment or we're feeling any kind of contraction or anything doesn't feel
Yeah.
right, we can tap on
Yeah.
absolutely. It's
Now, I
very
will say,
versatile.
in general, it's helpful to be a bit more specific. So
Okay.
you might say, like, instead of the world is not safe, you could say, even though I just saw a news article about another shooting down the block, I don't know, right? So for my daughter, she hears gunshots out her window frequently, and she doesn't feel safe in her neighborhood, which is why she's moving, right? So right,
Yeah.
there's, and she's now primed to listen for dangerous things and to expect to see and experience um, a dangerous environment. And I do believe that when we are in that kind of expectation mode, that we are more likely to have there's confirmation bias. We're more likely to notice the things we're expecting to see.
Yeah.
Um, Now, I'm not saying, right, you start tapping and then nothing ever goes wrong in your life again. Because
No, but then you know
that
what
would,
to do when it does.
yeah, that would be fun. But, right. But yeah, now you know what happened. Even though I'm so angry about what my husband said last night, he wasn't listening. He didn't get it. He, he wasn't the husband I needed him to be. What, right? Um, and what he said was exactly the wrong thing,
It
right?
reminds me of that the Byron Katie, where she says in that question, "Be as petty as you like,"
Oh
um,
yeah.
and
No,
it's
no,
good
no.
because
Yeah.
what you're doing is you're tapping into your pain body, aren't you?
Yep. All the details, okay, here's
Yeah,
another thing I like to tell people to do. If there's really, like, you really are having issues with, say, a particular person, or maybe there's something that you cannot get off your mind, like you just keep reliving it and it's consuming you. Maybe it's not to that extent, but nonetheless, write it all down. Longhand if you can, right? Longhand's so much better. But if you must, type it. Tap. I don't care if you do a setup phrase. Tap while you read it out loud. It's really powerful. And if you can get through that without crying, you are, it wasn't that big an issue. But in my experience, and I mean, you dump it all out there. You call that person whatever name you need
yeah,
to
yeah,
call
yeah.
them. You
Because you're bringing
express
it up, aren't you? And that's
every
just the
petty
release.
bitterness, every resentment, every incident that pissed you off, that left you feeling alone or discarded or betrayed, or right, all the stuff. And tap,
Tap it
just
out.
tap while you read it out. But reading out loud is the thing. It's really
Yeah,
powerful to hear your voice say those words.
yeah.
And so that's another really, really helpful one.
I did one. I
If you
had a
got
really
something that you
positive
might really
experience
stuck
on an aeroplane once because I had a fear
Yeah.
of flying, and like you said before about working in public, doing it in public. But I did. I remember sitting on a plane just going like this, and it really helped. I just did it all the way through, and I was fine on the
Yeah.
plane. Whereas usually I was like taking, I don't know, all sorts of, things to
Yeah.
calm me down, rescue remedy and everything. But so yeah, it is incredibly versatile, isn't it? But I'm just keeping an eye on the time, Alison, and I'm wondering, can
Oh,
we?
yeah, absolutely. I could go
Yeah.
on about it, obviously, for many, many. Get
can
excited about it.
we finish with some tapping? Can we? Because this card is talking to me, and this is where I
Oh,
think we are
yes.
in life because he's kind of made a choice, that he is throwing caution to the wind and he is taking this risk of jumping off a cliff and what have you. So we could tap maybe on, even though the world is changing, I trust the process. Can we skip to the end and get to
Yeah.
that bit? What do you
Yeah,
think?
absolutely. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
absolutely. That's
Even
a
though the world is changing, I trust in the process of life.
there we go. I like
What do you
that.
think?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Even though the world is changing, I trust the process of life.
Yeah. I like that one.
Yeah. Even though the world is seems to be in turmoil, I choose to trust in the creation of a new world.
Yes. Beautiful.
Even though the world can feel overwhelming and scary, I choose to know that a world of abundance and joy is waiting on the other side.
Yeah.
Something like that, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so we're going to do one round of kind of the scary stuff, right? The world still feels scary. There's so much going on. There are so many changes happening, and sometimes I find it overwhelming. I don't know what the future will bring. I hope it's bringing good things, but I'm not sure. I can feel some uncertainty in my nervous system. All of this change going on in the world. And then we'll do it round that's helpful. I choose to trust in the process of life. I choose to know that I am creating a better world for myself and everyone else. I choose to know that heaven on earth is here now. I choose to know that all change is creation.
Yeah.
I choose to know that everything is always happening for me.
Yeah.
I choose to know that, oh, what do I want to say? I choose to know that life is a great adventure.
Yeah. And I can co-create peace.
I choose to know I can co-create peace, and I choose to know that better days are ahead. Yeah, and take a nice deep breath in. And fill in your own words. If there's other phrases that resonate more with you, that are um, what you want to create in your reality,
Exactly. And
right?
something might shift while you're actually doing it. And so you might actually go
Yeah,
from thinking that the world is unsafe to actually, oh my, no, the world is safe
yeah,
because I'm the
right.
creator
So, right, you might
right
say, I
here,
choose,
right
right?
now.
I
Yeah.
choose, I choose to be grateful for everything that's going well. I
Yeah.
choose to notice all the beautiful things in my life right now. I choose to experience, deep friendships and meaningful communication with everyone I meet today, right? You can, you can do it, whatever
Yeah,
your
exactly.
mode.
Yeah, it's like intuitive EFT. That's what I would say. It's like once
Yeah,
you've learned it and once you've played with it a bit, tried it with, some negative thinking, but then also try it with some positive, and then just
yeah.
do what I call intuitive. You just sit there and just say what comes because I
Right.
really, I really
Or,
do trust the process.
I choose to feel grounded and connected to the earth.
Yeah, that's a good
I
one.
I choose I choose I choose I choose to balance all my chakras. I choose to have free flow of energy throughout my body, right?
Exactly.
You can
Wow.
just tune into anything that you want to and allow the tapping process
Well, it kind
and
of opens you up, and so it kind of would allow your higher self to come through
yeah,
and
or
tap into your
right,
own
I
guidance.
choose to hear, my the guidance from my higher self more
Yes.
easily. I choose to trust my guides and angels are always with me, right? Right, all of these beautiful things you can use tapping for. So it
Oh,
can really
wow.
be so such a lovely, lovely process.
Thank you so much,
Oh, yes,
Alison.
thank you.
It's
It's so
like,
fun.
wow, that was a really lovely input of EFT, emotional freedom technique and tapping. So, yeah,
And
thank you
such
for
beautiful
sharing.
cards. How
And
perfect are those? They're like so perfect,
yeah, I mean,
as they
yes, we
always
tap
are.
on freedom because a lot of people get stuck on that bit. They don't feel free. And we have to feel free on the inside in order to experience freedom on the outside. So I would suggest, yeah, if we had more time, I would continue with like, I choose to believe that I'm free.
Yeah, yeah. There's so many applications of it. And so I just encourage people to give it a try, play around with it. Uh,
Definitely, because the King of Swords is he has mastered his thinking. So he has done EFT and he's been able to shift. That's the whole point. That's why he's top of his game and he's made this transformation, you see, because he's actually shifted from the negative thinking into the positive, and that's where he's creating from now. So yeah, so we can
yeah.
be more like the King of Swords, I say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now I'm thinking, of course, like 18 other ways that we could use it, but we're out of time.
But
So,
we'll do another one. We'll do another one because we can always find stuff to tap on. So we'll come together
excellent.
again, I'm sure.
Okay.
But for now, I want to thank you so much, Alison, for joining me today. It's been such a joy, and thank you to anyone that's got to the end of the video.
No, for sticking with us till the end. We're both talkers. It's hard though.
Yeah. And I'm sending
Unbelievable.
you, Alison, lots of love, and I'm sending anyone that's watching lots of love. Mwah, mwah, mwah. And I will see you in the next video. So bye for now.